Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Prabhupada 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, dear devotees. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, verse 50. That's 6, 9, 50. Swayam nireya sambhidvan navakyagya karmahi narati rogino patyam panchatopi pisakamaha Swayam niresayam vidvan navakyagya karmahi narati yogino patyam vanchatopi pisaktamaha Swayam nireyasam vidvan avatyagya karmahi narati rogino patyam vanchatopi pisaktamaha. Any online chanters like to chant online?
Vayamni Shreyasam Vidvan Na Vak Yagyaya Karmahi Narati Rojino Pat Yam Vanchatopi Isak Tamaha.
Thank you very much. Okay, word for no one else would like to chant. Continue. Word for word or synonyms. Swayam, personally. Nishrey Yasam, the supreme goal of life. Namely, the means of obtaining ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. What a nice word. Nishreyasam. So we know Shreyas is like, as opposed to Preyas. Preyas is temporary benefit. Shreyas is ultimate benefit. So this is, or Shreyas is a more long-term benefit. And so this is Nishreyasam, the supreme goal of life. Namely, in case you didn't know what that supreme goal of life is, the means of obtaining ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vitvan, one who is accomplished in devotional service. Not. Bhakti, teaches. Agyaya, unto a foolish person not conversant with the ultimate goal of life. Karma, fruit of activities. He indeed, not. Rati, administers. Rogina, unto the patient. Patyam, something unconsumable. Vanchata, desiring. Api, although. Isaktama, an experienced physician. Translation. A pure devotee who is fully accomplished. So this is Krishna speaking after Krishna, Vishnu, yes, technically. And this is continuation of his instructions to the demigods after they were praying to him. And yeah, so he's appearing before them, and then this is one of the things he's saying. A pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages the patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. Here is the difference between the benedictions awarded by the demigods and those awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Devotees of the demigods ask for benedictions simply for sense gratification, and therefore they have been described in Bhagavad Gita 7:20 as bereft of intelligence. Mastastarhita jnana papalyante na devata tam tam niyamam astaya prakritya niyata soya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. End quote. Conditioned souls are generally bereft of intelligence because of profound desires for sense gratification. They do not know what benedictions to ask. Therefore, non-devotees are advised in the Shastras to worship various demigods to achieve material benefits. For example, if one wants a beautiful wife, he is advised to worship Uma, the goddess Durga. If one wants to be cured of a disease, he is advised to worship the sun god. All requests for benedictions from the demigods, however, are due to material lust. The benedictions will be finished at the end of the cosmic manifestation along with those who bestow them. If one approaches Lord Vishnu for benedictions, the Lord will give him a benediction that will help him return home back to Godhead. This is also confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tisham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami bodhi yogam tam yanamam upayanti te. Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna instructs a devotee who constantly engages in his service how to approach him at the end of his material body. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha takta deham punar janma naitimam iti sarjuna. Quote, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This is the benediction of Lord Vishnu. Krishna This is the benediction of Lord Vishnu, Krishna. After giving up his body, a devotee returns home back to Godhead. A devotee may foolishly ask for material benedictions. The Lord Krishna does not give him such benedictions, despite a devotee's prayers. Therefore, people who are very attached to material life do not generally become devotees of Krishna or Vishnu. Instead, they become devotees of the demigods. Kamastashtarhitakyana Bhadyante Nadevata. The benedictions of the demigods, however, are condemned in Bhagavad Gita. Antavattu palamtesham tadbhavatyalpamedesham. Quote, men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. A non-Vaishnava who is not engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered a fool with a small quantity of brain substance. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Statpitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagajatan Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Patan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm asking for the blessings of all the devotees present. I may say something that can benefit all of our spiritual lives. It's amazing that this Bhagavatam, if you read it, your material life is just finished. I'm sorry. It's just the point is just pounded again and again with how material life is, shrama eva hi kevalam, just simply a useless waste of time. So the Bhagavatam gives this, comes at it from so many angles, and ultimately it's hard to still pursue material things after gaining such knowledge. um, so this Prabhupada quotes this Antavat tu palam pisham tadbhavat yalpamedasvam. So yes, Bhagavad Gita 7:23. Krishna is saying, men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. It's as Prabhupada saying that even one may worship the demigods, and go through so much endeavor to please these demigods, to gain some material benefits. But ultimately what will happen is at the end of this life, or at the end of the cosmic manifestation, then all these material benefits will be over, as well as those who are providing those benefits, namely the demigods. Um, so, yeah, this is the temporary nature of this world, and the devotees should constantly keep this in mind that yes, this this world is temporary. Vikalayam asasvatam, temporary and full of miseries. Um, so we can see now, like these fires in California. Just imagine based on the people who live up there, you can imagine, like, it's all celebrities and stuff living up in the hills of California, and uh, you know, they thought they reached the pinnacle, have these nice houses and uh, beautiful houses up on the hills, overlooking that valley, and then fire comes and just takes it all out, just like that. So one could work so hard in one's life, um, but yeah, ultimately these things will ultimately be vanquished, and that's why like what's generally getting in the way of our bhakti is our desire for material things. But now but that's the thing, is that you could endeavor so hard for these material things, but and at the expense of your bhakti. But what's going to happen is at the end of life, these things are going to be vanquished anyways. Uh, so people, that's why saying the non-devotees, yeah, they're not, they don't have sufficient brain substance, because um, they are just, yeah, reaching for these things that are only temporary, and not ultimately not even satisfying. So um, yeah, so of course, uh, like I was just reading in the Bhagavad Gita that there are two natures. Like we have our conditioned nature and our constitutional nature. So our constitutional nature is that, okay, mamivam jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. We're all parts and parcels of Krishna. You know, Jiva Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. We're all eternally servants of Krishna. But then we also have our conditioned nature, and that's given to us. Um, that's within the three modes of nature, and it's given to us by our past deeds. And yeah, so in the second, so it's amazing because Bhagavad Gita is simultaneously um, catering to you know our conditioned nature. Like Arjuna was a warrior, so Krishna is telling him that you should fight. You're a warrior. This this is this is going to be pleasing to me. And then ultimately, ultimately, what is the supreme goal? Like Bhagavad Dharma, Atma Tattva, science of the soul. That no, you're not this body, like that. And ultimately, um, you should, all these dharmas don't even matter ultimately. Um, so Prabhupada makes it nice point in one of the purports of that second chapter, that in that second chapter, it says that until uh, because it's being glorified, like, no, Arjuna, Krishna is telling Arjuna, like, yeah, do your duty, like, this is your duty, therefore by doing your duty, you can go to the heavenly planets. If you win the battle, you enjoy on this planet. If you don't enjoy, then sorry, if you don't win, then it's okay, because you'll be elevated to the higher planetary systems. um So yeah, Krishna's telling Arjuna, like, yeah, this is your conditioned duty, so you should do it. And then Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that um, if one is not liberated, then one should act according to one's conditioned nature. Yeah, so if one is not liberated, one should act according to one's conditioned nature, and but with the goal of going back to Godhead, um, like Prabhupada says, in these purports of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that even if one performs one's duties perfectly, uh, if one ultimately isn't obtaining the love of God, then it's ultimately pointless. So yeah, so then how does one do that? Well, skip to the 18th. How does one obtain perfection in doing one's duty? Well, you skip to the 18th chapter, and you hear Krishna saying, Krishna's saying that, yeah, by um, you know keep doing your duty for me, always think of me, um, always thinking of me, yeah, then you'll ultimately come to me. Let me just pull up that 18th chapter. Mic check, mic check, check, check. Yeah, so the 18th chapter, of course, we know is like a summary, or not. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is summarizing the whole Gita. And um, so Krishna's saying, by following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now, here, how this can be done: by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his work. Um, interestingly enough, now he's saying, in every endeavor there's some fault. This is the material world, but it's not that you should give up that work born of your nature. Um, yeah, one who is self-controlled, who is unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyment can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest stage of freedom from reaction. So one who is self-controlled, unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments. So I like, yeah, Prabhupada says in one purport that even if one is working, you know, one has to work, but one should not take on the nature of that work. Like, in other words, um, one should very firmly have this identity as a Vaishnava, and even though one is going out and working, one shouldn't like start taking on the habits or of their coworkers, etc. Um, one who's, yeah, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain the perfection of stage Brahman. So, well, yeah, ultimately, Krishna is saying that by by working according to one's nature, then one can rise to the stage of Brahman like that. So how did I get there? I don't have no clue. Yeah, so conditioned and constitutional natures that we all have. Um, yeah, okay, that's how I got there. So yeah, it's not that we're as devotees saying to give up everything, give up all contact with the material world, because uh, contact has to be there. And even Arjuna was trying to say, no, Krishna, I'll just go out to the forest, and you know, because Arjuna even says, like, Krishna, I'm a little bewildered. First you're saying that it's good to give up all fruitive activities, but then you're saying, act. What is it? Let me get this verse. Uh, yeah. So yeah. So Arjuna is saying, here's the second chapter. Krishna's talking all about soul, the nature of the soul. Kind of like it seems to be a heavy emphasis of renunciation. So now this third chapter, Krishna is starting off or sorry, Arjuna is starting off saying, like, Kesha, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? Like, isn't it you're saying all this knowledge of the soul, so why do you want to now like entangle me with fruitive work? Next text. My intelligence bewildered by your equivocal. Um, yeah. Then Krishna is saying, not merely by abstaining from word can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. One who restrains his senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So, in other words, yeah, or Krishna is making the point that you have, um, that don't artificially renounce, pretty much. Um, so yeah, so the devotee, uh, so we're not extremists. We're not like you know we work we have contact with this world. Um, um, but we take, the Bhagavad. Maybe I'm quoting so much from Bhagavad Gita because I just heard my guru give like a 2-hour class. I think he gave it before, but it was just like glorifying the Bhagavad Gita for like 2 straight hours, and it was really awesome. So yeah, so we don't renounce the world, but what does Krishna say that what is night for the transcendentalist, or sorry, what is day for the transcendentalist is night for the materialist, and not and vice versa. Uh, so they are, yeah, we definitely you have a total shift in consciousness, even though we might appear to be doing the same things. Um, and there's so many stories in the Bhagavatam, maybe not so many, but at least there's one. Ambrish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, like Durvasa Muni, so-called was a renunciant, but Ambrish Maharaj was like engaged in the world and therefore, but we know from how the pastime played out who was a saintly one, like Ambrish Maharaj, like my God. So it was a full year, a full year of Earth time that Durvasa Muni was being chased by the Sudas on Chakra, and because Ambrish Maharaj, being such a saint, he was fasting. He was fasting because um, you know he considered, well, Durvasa Muni is still my guest. I don't want to eat before my guest. So okay, my guest is now being chased by Sudas on Chakra, and then Ambrish Maharaj comes back, or sorry, Durvasa Muni, hears that this suitor's, Vishnu tells him that you have to get the blessings of my devotee, like you offended my devotee, so you have to get the blessings of my devotee. So Durvasa Muni comes back, pays obeisances, and apologizes, and then Maharaj Ambrish is also paying obeisances and apologizing. So this, like, yeah, this saintly quality of one, even seemingly engaged in material activities, um, is quite amazing. Um, so, but yeah, but the thing is the difference is, of course, is engaging in things according to the Vaishnava way. So there's the pastime. Um, it's amazing that this pastime is like it's like it's so interwoven through the Bhagavatam. It spreads like through many cantos, and it keeps like it like pops up for many backstories, and even even now I believe this Richa is also connected. And how, yeah, and that this is the pastime of Kasyapa and Diti, and um, Diti wanted, and the point I'm the well, let's see what the point is. Okay, so Diti was wanting her kids. I'm sorry. Okay, Diti's two kids were killed, and who were her kids? None other than Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Um, and of course, uh, we know how Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nishingadev, open heart surgery, and then because was Hiranyaksha was like so puffed up with his strength, and was cruising around pretty much looking for a fight, and intimidating all the demigods, and approaches Varuna, and Varuna's like, no, I'm not going to fight you, but you'll get your match, don't worry. And then uh as we know, then that Lord Boar came, and they got in a fight like that, and Hiranyaksha was ultimately defeated by Lord Vishnu in the form of his boar incarnation. So but I was looking for this bit of information. If anyone knows it, please write it in the chat, or can say it after class. But somehow DT uh, as- ascribes this killing of her children to Indra, even though it's clearly Vishnu who kills her two kids. But it's said that one of the verses there says that DT thought that Vishnu, sorry, yeah, DT thought that Vishnu um, assisting Indra, or like by impetus of Indra, killed her two kids. Um, so then she, you know, so Kasyapa, like, talk about a talk about an interesting grihastha life. Like, first of all, he's doing his meditation, and then his wife approaches him, and she's like, "I'm feeling overcome with lust. Please satisfy my lust." And he's like, Kasyapa's like, "Well, I know this isn't the right time, but um, you know, goes along with it." And then uh, it was an inauspicious time of the day, and yeah, and he tells her, he's like, "Okay, your two sons are going to be killed by Vishnu, um, but you'll get one benediction that you'll have a great grandson," which ultimately, yeah, was Prahlad Maharaj. So Kashyapa was approached in that way, and because of doing it engaging in this procreative, if that's even a word, activity, they had these two very demonic uh, children, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Then fast forward, after her kids are killed, after their children are killed, Kasyapa is again approached by DT. And DT is, it's explained that DT was very submissive and humble, and what does it say? So she was able to conquer the heart of Kasyapa. So Kasyapa was captivated by Diti's artificial behavior, which brought him under her control. Um, okay, here. Diti began so if ladies want to know how to get their husbands under control, here you go. Diti began constantly acting to satisfy Kasyapa by her pleasing behavior. O king, Diti always carried out Kasyapa's orders very faithfully, as he desired, with service, love, humility, and control, with words spoken very sweetly to satisfy her husband, and with smiles and glances at him. Diti attracted his mind and brought it under her control. Um, so then Kasyapa was captivated by that artificial behavior, and he was brought under her control, and he assured his wife that he will fulfill her desire. Um, Such a promise by a husband is not all astonishing. Um, yeah. So then, what? So then, what? Why? What was DT's desire in this? Why? What was her motive in doing all this? She wanted. She wanted to give birth to a son who would kill Indra. Um, so then that's what she says. She's like, Kasyapa again finds himself in the situation, and he's like, okay, you pleased me, what do you want? And she tells him, I wanna, I want I want a son who will kill Indra. And then Kasyapa, you can imagine, is like, like, come again? Like, is this April Fool's, or because Kasyapa was like, how can I kill the demigods? Yeah, the demigods, do not deserve to be killed. Um, the demigods do not deserve to be killed. Um, in this situation, the solution I have is quite suitable. So, yeah, so then so Kasyapa being very learned, so what does he do now? Okay, so his wife has this material desire, and so he comes up, he doesn't come up, he prescribes to her this vow, uh, Humsa, what is it? Humsa something vow. Um, and yeah, it's according to the Vaishnava regulations, and he knew that it would it would purify her. Um, so then DT follow, and it's like some of the example. Oh yeah, yeah. Finding the fault. Oh yeah. Okay. So then she's performing this like vow, uh, daily bringing flowers from the forest, kusha grass, um, uh, what else? Not whatever. Putting on wash clothes, being always very pure, adorned with turmeric, senna, wood pulp. Um, So she's doing all this, and then one day she forgot to wash her mouth after eating. She neglected to wash her mouth, hands, and feet after eating, and went to sleep during the evening twilight. Then, finding this fault, Indra, who had all mystic powers, entered into her womb. And what did he do? He used his thunderbolt, and he cut up her womb into 49, you know, living entities who became the Maruts. Uh, yeah, and then okay, so exactly. Okay, now here it is. So she did this, and she worshipped the benefit. Okay, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, even once he received the benefit of being promoted to the spiritual world and possessing the same bodily features as Vishnu. DT worshipped Lord Vishnu for almost 1 year, adhering to a great vow. Because of such strength in spiritual life, the 49 roots were born. How then is it wonderful that the roots, although born from the womb of Diti, became equal to the demigods by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Okay, because of worshiping the Supreme Personality of God, Diti was completely purified. When she got up from bed, she saw her 49 sons along with Indra. These 49 sons were all as brilliant as fire and were in friendship with Indra, and therefore she was very pleased. So see, she turned from like wanting to kill Indra, and now she's like wanting to take like, family picture with Indra and her 49 sons. She's like, "Oh, I'm, you know, whatever. I'm happy now that you guys are getting along." Uh, yeah, I knew by the So, anyways, that's I'm looking for if there's any. So yeah, it's interesting. Um, that through I mean, and this is a lot of how the Vedic process works is you have material desires, okay, but now engage in the service of the Lord, and those the purification will happen. Ultimately, you won't even have these desires anymore. So Kasyapa was very expert in being able to you know, take that wrath that his wife had and wanting to kill Indra and using it, and directing it in a way that would purify her. And ultimately she was like, you know, woke up, saw her 49 sons. They had just, yeah, just been cut out of her embryo, and the 49 sons were with Indra, and she was like, okay, well, I'm, she got purified of that desire to kill Indra. So yes, engagement in the prescribed rules and regulations of bhakti, um, will will ultimately purify us, as the Bhagavad Gita says that, the transcendentalist, the yogi, everything that they do is for ultimately for purification. That's the desire of the yogi. That's the ultimate desire is, let me become purified so that I can be eligible to render service to God, uh, and be eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom like that. Um, so yeah, I'll stop there. If there are any questions or comments, uh, yeah, you can say so now.
I have a question or a comment or something. Um, Earlier in your discussion, you were speaking about prescribed duty. Um, Gave some quotations from chapter 2 and chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and then you went to chapter 18, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, and unless I misunderstood what you were saying, what I got from what you were saying was that the ultimately Krishna is saying to perform your prescribed duty, and but this is not my understanding of the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. At the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly instructs Arjuna to abandon prescribed duty. And he says, just surrender to me, just follow my instructions, abandon all varieties of religion. That the religiosity that he's talking about is prescribed duty. It's varnashram. He's instructing Arjuna to just abandon it, forget about it, and just surrender to me. Sometimes, not infrequently, I hear devotees describe how Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you can't do this, then do this. And if you can't do that, then do this. And there are some instances in which he does that. But the way in which Bhagavad Gita progresses from the first to the final chapter is that he actually does the opposite of that. He says, everything that I have told you previously, forget all those things and just do this. Just surrender to me. Where is that? Let me. The purport to text 66, which is itself the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. So Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion. Knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life. He's talking now about Varnashram. Knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. So anyway, that's my understanding of Bhagavad Gita. That it's not that ultimately Krishna says we should perform our prescribed duty, but ultimately he says that everything that is described in Bhagavad Gita should be abandoned and we should just surrender to him. That's the ultimate conclusion. So I may have misunderstood what you were saying, but it left me confused. So I just thought I would try to clear that up.
Yeah, no,
Anyway,
thank you.
I thank you for your class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, if I said it, I, s- I didn't mean it if I said it. That ultimately, yeah, because ultimately, uh, I don't know. I don't think I would mix those two things up. Um, so I didn't consciously say it if I did say it. Maybe it was a Freudian slip. I don't know. But it's interesting. I guess my question would be, because um, you know, Arjuna Arjuna's surrendering, yeah, like Arjuna's surrender. Sorry, there's background noise and there's construction going on, but um, okay. Arjuna's surrender was to follow Krishna's instructions to fight. Um, so that that was his means. So his means of surrendering was to seemingly like, yeah, engage in what seems like karma yoga. Um, because I don't think you're saying. Well, maybe I'll just ask you just for like clarity's sake. Like, are you saying then that everyone should ultimately just go to the forest and meditate? Because that's what maybe surrender might come across as.
I'm certainly not saying we should go to the forest and meditate. That's not what Krishna is recommending. And that's Srila Prabhupada in his purport specifically mentions that, and that he's saying that that should be abandoned. He specifically mentioned mind control and meditation. And so he's saying that all of these processes that Krishna has described, all of them should be abandoned. What Krishna did in Bhagavad Gita, his objective was to get Arjuna to fight. In order to persuade him to do so, he used numerous different arguments. He argued on the basis of his duty as a Kshatriya. He argued on the basis of logic, ethics, all different kinds of arguments. But ultimately, what he said is, you don't have to do any of those things. Just do it because I said to do it. Just do as I say. That's all. So anyway, that's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. That to do that, of course, is not necessarily an easy thing. To just immediately surrender to Krishna, or even to just immediately surrender to Krishna's representative, is not necessarily so easy. And so, because some people can't do that, Srila Prabhupada has explained it. Therefore, there is the system of Varna and Ashram. There was a series of lectures in which he was describing this. Devotees were asking some questions, expressing their confusion about Varnashram. Prabhupada was trying to make it clear to them. But interestingly, the process is the inverse of the idea that if you can't do this, then do that, as the progression in Bhagavad Gita, but actually the opposite, that if you can't do what is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, the final step, then go back to the earlier step, which is prescribed duty. Actually going backwards. But for Vaishnavas, we have nothing to do with Varnashram. Varnashram is meant for those who are non-devotees. Srila Prabhupada has explained that it's actually for the non-devotees. Even you come to the culmination of Varnashram, if you are elevated to the stage of a Brahmin, Srila Prabhupada explained, is if he is fortunate, he becomes a Vaishnava. The Brahmin is actually a Kanishta Adhikari, the lowest stage of Vaishnava, if he's fortunate. But he may not come to the platform of the worship of Vishnu, in which case he's less than a Kanishta. Anyway, I hope I'm not creating more confusion, but
Yeah. No, I'd like to just thank you very much for that. I think just for the okay. Yeah, thank you very much. They're gonna open it up. Kanta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Kalitani Shaka Shivirate Jaya Nitai Gora Sunda Nitai Gora Sunda Gora Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Shadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Shadma Bandamuri Sabadana Mate Bandamuri Sabadana Mate Yara Sare Ba Eva Riya Yara Sare Ba Eva Riya Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoy Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoy Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Akya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Akya Arna Kori Homan Asha Arna Kori Homane Asha Chakudam Sri Guru Charane Rati Ese Dama Rati Sri Guru Charane Rati Ese Dama Rati Ye Prasade Pure Sara Asha Ye Prasade Pure Sara Amasha Shakudan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Ste Shakudan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Ste Divya Gyan De Prakriti So Divya Gyan De Prakriti So Prema Bhakti Yaha Te Avidyami Nata Jate Prema Bhakti Yaha Te Avidyami Nata Jate Vediga Jatara Charito Vediga Jahara Charito
Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanara Bandhu Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Divana Lokanath Lokera Divana Srila Prabhupada Pakita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Pakita Pavana Prabhu Pora Deho More Parachaya Prabhu Pora Deho More Parachaya Evejas Nishutri Pavana Evejas Nishutri Pavana Srila Prabhupada Pakita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Pakita Pavana Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.